On the workbench today is a Fender Stratocaster. I believe it to be a Highway 1. I think the seller had it from 2002, but just listed it as a USA made guitar. And I'm pretty sure the neck is USA made. It's got some nice wear to the finish, which looks pretty sweet, which is one of the reasons I wanted to get this. The thing that bothers me is that these saddles do not look original. I've looked it up, and pretty much every Strat that I've seen that could be like this guitar had the stamped steel saddles. So maybe somebody swapped those out because, you know, the stamped steel saddles are original, but they're not that great. And they can have burrs and they can snap strings. So I'll have to do a little bit more digging just to see if there is an issue with that. The guitar came with some Lawler pickups, which is another reason that I wanted to get this guitar, and it has the original pickups with it. So the original pickups are going to go back into this guitar, and I'm going to set the Lawlers aside for something else. I can get Lawlers OEM for the guitars I build, but not for secondary purposes. So they only can go in the guitars I make. So the guitar didn't play that great when I got it, which is not surprising. And whenever I'm going to work on a guitar, I'm always curious as to how well the truss rod works and how level the frets are, so I'll check those. And one thing about the Fenders, in case anybody is interested, where that truss rod nut is right about at the end of a typical Allen wrench. So people will either mash up this plug trying to get at the truss rod, or the Allen wrench will just grab the nut at the very tip of it, and then as soon as you turn it, you'll strip the nut because the Allen wrench is only in the truss rod maybe, you know, a 1/16 of an inch at most, and that's not enough what they say called purchase. So I've got this one from StewMac. It's an 1/8 inch one. I've tried some other ones because the 1/8 inch feels a little bit loose on there, but my other ones don't fit in there. It's usually like 1/8 inch or 4mm or something like that. But so I'm going to use that when I get to that. But just a tip, a standard Allen wrench will barely grab the nut to turn that. So you don't really want to force it and strip out the end of that nut. So I'm going to get right into it, and I'm going to check the frets for level. There's a little bit of wear. So I anticipate doing a Fretdress to this guitar, a setup, swapping out the pickups, and just making sure everything works as it should, and just make it play as nice as it can. And also check the nut slot, the string height above the frets. Probably do that towards the end of the setup. And I think that is about it for now. We can flip it over and look at the back side. Some more nice wear. To me, that looks cool. I don't know if somebody came in and picked at the finish to do this, or if this was just honest wear. It's got some warming and things like that. So maybe it was just good, honest play wear. Otherwise, somebody went at it to make it look like this. Either way, it's just a cool guitar. The original seller really praised the tonal qualities of this guitar, and I don't typically buy into that too much. Let's see. 4 springs on the back, kind of a questionable ground on the spring claw. You know, I don't keep up with every iteration of a Fender Stratocaster, so it's my guess that this is a Highway 1. And not only do I not keep up on every iteration of the Fender Stratocaster, but when they market a Stratocaster as something new and innovative and special, justifying a higher retail price, I sort of just go to sleep because, you know, putting a contour in the heel area on the back and using neck ferrules instead of a neck plate is not innovation. Other people have been doing that for decades. So I tend not to pay attention to any sort of marketing gobbledygoo. To me, it's a Stratocaster. Could be a really cool Stratocaster. When I'm done working on it, it's going to play great and it's going to sound good. It's going to get the original pickups back in it. Maybe I'll throw a set of pickups that I wound in there just to give them a listen, but I think we need to stop talking and get to work. All right, so we've got the Fretdress done. Nice and shiny frets here. The neck is nice and straight, so there's no issues really with the neck. Inside, we have some Lawler pickups that are coming out. And you might be thinking, wait, why would you take those out? And I'm taking them out because I want them. And it's one of the reasons I bought the guitar. So the original pickups will go back in, or perhaps a set of pickups I wound, as I mentioned earlier. Just pointing out some kind of bad soldering here. So I'm going to clean off all of that. And I'm going to do a neck and middle tone pot there and a bridge tone here, which is not the traditional way, but I think it makes a lot of sense, and a lot of other people do as well. Now you'll notice they have a ground screw here holding this wire to what should be shielding paint. It looks like there's shielding paint down underneath there. And let's just point a few things out. So a simple continuity check, right? If I touch the ground casing of the pot and I touch that screw, I have continuity from the soldered connection to that screw. I don't have any continuity from the foil on the pickguard to that screw. And actually, if I put the probe on the screw, I don't, but if I put it on that tab, I do. Okay, so that makes sense. So from this tab to the shielding paint, I should have continuity, and I don't. It's unlimited ohms. So that little ground wire really doesn't do any good. I'm going to make sure that there's a really good ground to the spring claw in the back, and we could check that real quick as well. So it looked a little funky. If I go from the spring claw to the foil, I've got a good ground there. So the claw is grounded, and unless I were to give this a new shielding job and put shielding on the pickguard, this little ground tab serves no purpose. So that's probably going to go. So off we go with this work. All right, little update on the electronics. A pet peeve of mine is when people wrap wires around lugs and then solder them. In a guitar like this, you do not need the wire wrapped around the lug and then solder it. I understand why people do it, because you can just put the wire in its place and add solder, but it really makes it a pain for the next person. And whenever I work on a guitar or an amp, I'm not just thinking about the next owner, but I'm thinking about the next person that has to work on this. So it is a real pain in the rear end to try to salvage these pots. And I'm throwing in the towel on the switch, because the soldering that was done to this guitar is pretty bad, and it's going to cost me way too much time to try to salvage that switch. But these are good CTS pots, and I'm going to continue to clean these up and salvage them, because I don't know if I'm a glutton for punishment, or I just don't really want to see these pots end up in the landfill when they don't need to. I felt that way about the switch as well, but you know, these are a little bit more delicate lugs on these CRL switches. So that one has to hit the trash. But, you know, if you're going to solder, you just really need to tin the component, tin the lug, and tin the wire, and then just melt the two together and hold the wire still while the solder cools, and you'll have a good connection. You just don't need to twist the wires. All right, it is a new day and I've had some time to think. And despite my best intentions, I'm going to replace these pots. And what I've concluded is I can't justify a new set of pickups, a new switch, new capacitors, new wiring, and use these pots. So rather than throw them away, I am going to just include them with the guitar, and the next owner can do whatever they want with them. So after some investigating here, these are the pickups that were in it, and the previous owner listed it as original pickups. So 2R, the plastic bobbin Fender pickups. This one is looks to be a Seymour Duncan from 2002. And here's the old switch, here's the old capacitor. All that's going to go with the guitar. And then I've got a new set of pickups here that I wound. And after going through all the specs for all the pickups I have on hand, these are a little bit slightly overwound. They are probably a little bit more output than a traditional Stratocaster pickup from the 50s or 60s, but they're not as overwound and hot as some of the modern Strat pickups that you'll find. These were vacuum potted with shellac instead of wax. So I'll get a new set of covers there. I've got potentiometers to choose from. At one point on my reverb shop, I sold matched pairs, trios, and quads of different style potentiometers. Some people really liked that. Other people, you know, didn't. And I would buy them in bulk, measure them all out, and clearly state that, you know, this is the measurement on this day with this meter, because it's temperature sensitive and the resistance changed. But anyhow, it's just kind of more work than it's worth. So I've got a bunch of pots on hand, and I can sort through this little bin and find some that are closely matched, because that scratches the OCD itch for me. And get this all wired up. I'm going to clean the pickguard underside here. And that way the new owner has the parts that I had with it, minus the lollers. And hopefully they'll be happy. And let's get to work. update on the progress here. We have got 3 pickups that I wound. These are Elnico 5 magnets, like I mentioned earlier, slightly overwound. Probably a touch warmer than a traditional, stock Strat pickup. We've got 18 gauge bus wire holding the pots in place. We have a neck and middle tone and a bridge tone. 22 microfarad for the neck and middle, 33 microfarad for the bridge. I don't have any hard and fast rules. Some people will say, oh, you need a 22 microfarad for this and a 47 microfarad for that. There really are no hard, fast rules to it. You can do it to taste, and I've heard reasonings on one side of the argument that counteract or say the exact opposite of other people's opinions on it. So like I said, I don't have hard and fast rules for that. So I thought I'd go 22 and 33. I don't typically use 33 microfarads for tones often, but I thought it'd be worth a try on this one. And we're just about ready to put it back together. All new Gabbett wire, new output, switchcraft output jack, Gabbett wires. I got rid of that little ground wire that was screwed to the body. As I explained before, it doesn't do anything unless it is in contact with shielding paint. So, getting ready to put this thing back together, string it up, and give it a setup, and then we'll be able to see what it sounds like.
Thank you.